Hey, everybody.
Hello,
Welcome back to Diggin Comics. This is episode three.
our third episode. Woo!
Yeah, we got a couple under our belt. This week's episode, boy Spencer here is gonna talk about the humidity tank, which is the next process after cleaning.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do a little my shtick on the human fly from 1977, 1978. Well, Spence, if you wanna lead us
Take it
off.
away.
What were your digs of the week? What'd you have for digs this week?
Well,
Anything
I got
fun?
quite a few, including still some that you got me, but I mean, I only got room for a few, so I'm going to go through some new, and
Yeah,
there's a couple older ones that I'm going to show. So we'll
sure.
go ahead and do that right now. I mean, here we go. First one is Space
Oh,
Ghost.
man.
Um, I mean, it's kind of funny because I always laughed at the Dynamite. The multiple covers. You got like 28 covers, all that kind of stuff. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
but I mean, this Space Ghost, I just bought it on a lark because I did like the cover. And then I read the story about this Pepos guy or David Pepos or whatever, and it was pretty dang good. It was like I learned more about Space Ghost than I ever knew as a kid. I just watched the show um, and didn't
Spencer,
really
did they ever have
understand.
a comic of Space Ghost prior to this? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think Dell did one,
That's
like
what I was wondering.
Hanna
I'm
Barbara.
gonna have to check that out because I
I
love Space Ghost as a
Yeah.
kid.
Well, I tell you what, I was pleasantly surprised by this series, and this is issue number two. And of course, it got multiple covers, which I
Yeah,
don't need
yeah,
all
I
the
think I
covers,
might pick it up.
but this is the cover I liked. Second one is kind of a
You
relaunch, I guess. Of they're still trying to do Namor.
love Submarine. You love
Yeah,
that boy, don't you?
the original Submarine. I'm still working on that run, but I like this cover too. I mean, I always tell myself I'm not going to be a cover guy, but
Nah, that's a pretty sick cover,
you go
man. That's a
look at
great
them and it's
cover.
like, oh boy. But I do want to see what they can do with the reboot of this character. And then this one
Nice.
is another Dynamite. Um, one, like I said, I'm eating my own words here, but I do
Yeah.
like Dan Panosian, this writer and artist. He's done a lot of good things, some Conan and a few other things for. Oh, he's worked for Marvel and DC, but he's mostly an independent now. But I always like Red Sonja because it's Conan mythos,
Yeah, you Conan
and
boy.
the cover don't hurt either at all. And this story again, just like the Space Ghost, I bought it kind of on a lark, and then I read the story, and I'm like, this is pretty dang good. And then another new one I've been following this Jeff Johns um, universe. It's kind of he's wearing Geiger. I know you're into Geiger a little bit, Matt.
Yeah, I collected that. I've got that whole series of
Yeah,
Geiger.
and I'm
That
giving it a good shot. I'm Geiger and Red Coat and what's that other
I
one?
mean, the
Rook.
Geiger is futuristic, but is this red coat? Is this back in the past?
Yeah, this is like
I don't know the
Revolutionary
storyline.
War. Revolutionary War. And this guy, I think his name's Simon Pure. I mean, what a great name for, you know, but he's immortal. And I can't even remember right
Huh.
now how he got immortal. Some kind of magic or something. But it's been good so far. I'm gonna stick with it for 8 or 9, 10 issues and then
Yeah.
see what happens. Another one of my favorite sword and sorcery characters is Elric. And I'll probably do a segment on Elric like I did on Conan last week. But Elric, if you know fantasy, I mean, it's amazing they haven't made a movie of this yet. The Witcher's kind of a ripoff of Elric as far as looks and everything. And, um, but that, I'm be curious. Michael Moorcock, the guy that, I mean, this character dates back to the 60s. He created him as a little bit of a anti Conan type of
Oh,
character. He's
okay.
actually kind of weak. He keeps himself alive with
The
drugs
cover
and
reminds me a little bit a little Thor-esque there, you know?
yeah, there's a little bit of that Norse stuff in
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
but he's got this black sword called Stormbringer, which sucks the souls and energy out
Stormbringer.
of people when he kills them. And the sword is kind of Blue Oyster Cult did a song, Black Blade, on.
Oh,
They're a big Michael Moorcock fan. They've collaborated with him, but so that's
there we
Elric.
go.
Now we're getting into some real digs, some things you got to dig through. This Marvel Tales 31 is a reprint. All Marvel Tales were, and I think they still are. When I
Yeah.
was a kid, I didn't know the difference. I just bought
No,
them.
we none of us did.
But I
I
liked it
mean,
because I loved these 25-cent thick, issues. This one's going to go in the press.
oh,
In fact, it's going to go in the humidity tank that we're going to talk about in a little
yeah,
bit.
show that. It looks like it's got a pretty clean up because these were none, if
Yeah,
anybody doesn't know,
they're
these
hard to find. It's not
yeah, it's
split.
called square bound. They didn't have there's no staples in them.
Right. Just glue and they're
We
easily
can speak
split.
to
And this one's you can see when I'm the front cover's got it's about a
Yeah.
5.0, maybe a 6. But I think a
And there's a
humidity
trick to
tank and the
there's a real
press,
trick to pressing those too. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You've got to put backing boards in your press to. We can talk about it in another
yeah,
episode.
well,
But
it adds that extra thickness.
yeah, you
And
got to use it. You got to use it to support the back. But yeah, that's awesome.
right. And you've
Great.
got more experience with that than I do, so I'll be talking to
I've
you about that.
experimented with 3 or 4 of them.
Right. But this final dig of mine was just a kind of a fun one because I read this series. I think it was, geez, back in the early 2000s, maybe even late 90s. It's the 1940s Golden Age Sandman, kind of reimagined by this Matt Wagner. And some of you out there might recognize that name as from that Mage and everything, which I didn't read, but he's been around. And this was every issue was like I think it was like a 4 issue arc for each one.
I've
And
never
it was
read
kind of
that
a
before.
mystery kind of thing. And of course, this Sandman, the Golden Age superhero, uses gas and his gas mask to knock out his enemies, and it's pretty good rebirth of the character.
Cool cover.
And yeah, there's a lot of photographs. So that's
So
pretty much it. That's
that
my
character is
digs for the
different.
week. What's that?
Is that character different than the regular Sandman? I'm not into the Sandman DC.
Yeah, there's that's a
Different.
whole ball of wax right there. Well,
Oh,
actually, the Sandman from DC, the one you're thinking of, Morpheus, the King of Dreams,
yeah.
which again is another one of my favorite characters, and I'll probably do a segment on Sandman. Um, he kind of used this character as a springboard for that, the idea of
Oh,
being
okay.
gassed and put to sleep, get the connection,
Gotcha. Makes
being
sense.
put to sleep and
Huh.
stuff. So that's my digs.
Yeah, nice pulls, man. Nice
Thanks,
digs.
and I'll come back to life here. And now it's your turn. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, well, this past week before, I went to a little vintage shop, and then I went to a little small toy show they had. And a couple guys had a booth there, so I switched
Nice.
over. So
Ooh.
my first digs were actually for you, Spence. I know you're a Mystique guy, and
Yeah, for some reason I love those. I love Matt Vaughn,
yeah,
the
real neat.
writer, and
I
on
think
those
the covers are really
they
cool.
are, they're good. I think
And
those
I pulled
covers,
these.
those original ones are by the Greg Land, I think. The artist, I can't
They're
remember.
yeah, I got them all for $1, and they all seem I don't see any spine ticks, real clean. They're
Yeah,
mines anyways.
can't
But
beat those.
covers are really pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks by the way.
this series. Oh, you're welcome. Anytime, man. You know how we're back and forth. The
Right.
this series like 2010, somewhere around there. Is that what you think? I know they're
I think so, yeah.
two
It's
ninety nine
about 10
covers.
years
So I know
old,
they're
10, 15 years old.
yeah. There's a 6 and an 8, and I know you said you didn't have these, so yeah,
Right.
picked up a few for you. And then
Yeah,
at
I
that
want to
little
get that
shop,
run.
yeah, we'll
Ooh,
try to get
light
a
blue.
run between the two of us, cheap. Then I picked up some of these Werewolf by Night. Now the first three I actually have already pressed. They're lower grade. I picked them up for like $3 a piece, but they
Nope.
pressed and clean not too bad. But yeah, they're
What's the
like
saying?
three.
No grade is better than no grade, or low grade is
Yeah,
better than no grade?
kind of. I love that old horror.
Yeah.
Um, the horror ones. For the first three, like I said, I pressed them. You can see it's got creases in it, but
Yeah, but what the heck?
favorite, love
Yeah.
Werewolf with the vampires with Dracula. That's awesome. Really
Yeah.
fun cover.
That is. That's cool.
And then these last two, I still have to run it through a press. This one's probably it's got a crease there, so
Yeah.
they're not bad.
Creases and stuff like that. I mean, I kind of I have a love-hate relationship with those because they give this book some character,
Right? Yeah, they do.
you
Yep.
know. Ooh,
And
the
this is
Hulk.
another one that I picked up. This is the Hulk, and this is from 1979. It's magazine style. Um, it's really neat. I really like it. In the back of this is their Moon Knight stories.
Oh,
So this
wow.
is 79. So this is pre the 1980 run. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
Moon Knight came out. I wish I had 32 of Werewolf by Night,
Right, right.
but his stories were run in the back of this Hulk. And I think this I don't have to I haven't researched it, but I was thinking about that. This might be the Savage Hulk, and then they changed the name,
Yeah.
or they ran a different title at the same time. I'll do a little research and see
Well,
what
I remember as a kid when those Marvel characters, Hulk did it, and I think Spidey did a few. They tried
they
like black and white variations. They didn't go
yeah.
over real well. I think people liked the color for those kind of
Yeah, they
characters.
are. And I don't know if they jumped on because of the movie. I mean, the show, the TV show, became popular.
Right, right. Lou Ferrigno,
Well,
baby.
the last thing I found, I got this out of like a 50-cent bin.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
Really nice old Army at War. Not the best shape, but the big reason I like is because the spine roll is really, really kind of off, as you can see.
Right, right.
And I thought this would be my press of the week. So next week next episode I'll show this book again. I'll clean and press it. It's pretty fairly clean book. But I've got a new technique I've been using to try to fix the roll. That seems to work pretty good. This one's pretty rough. There's actually a couple of pages that are already out of the
All
staples,
right,
so I don't have to
right,
worry about detaching the staples because they're already missing a few. But
right.
little Joe Kubert art,
The
I mean,
cover's
really
still nice and
excited about.
glossy.
Yeah, so we'll see what this baby turns out with after I do a press for next time.
I think those war books, World War II especially, and that kind of stuff
They're-
is their time is going to be
Yeah, I think
more.
they're really underrated. I think the
Yeah.
horror is starting to. I think the horror is really picked up. But yeah, I agree. The army, it just
Mhm.
hasn't. You know what I mean? It has its niche. But
Yeah.
yeah, those are my books of the week.
Well, nice. Very
It's back
nice.
my video.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
Our next little segment is on my humidity tanks. What I went back and forth on how to present this and everything because
yeah,
so what I did is I filmed a little business and I thought we'd show that little film. It's about 4 minutes long. Shows what my humidity tank's like and what I did. It's a little different than probably yours or whatever, but I mean the
yeah.
concepts are the same. So let's go ahead and get that going. I'm going to share my screen and we'll see how it
This is our
turns
fifth
out.
attempt at this, folks. So hopefully it'll work out.
Right, right. So I'm going to share that screen
All
and
right, looks good on my end.
okay, what I'm going
Make
to
sure
do,
you do the
my
sound
humidity
too.
tank video here and it should take off. Okay, this is my humidity tank, which I use for before I press any books. I use to add a little moisture to, especially some of these older books that are, some of them are 40 and 50 years old. And so this is just a simple storage bin that I got from Lowe's. I like it because it has these little handles on the side, which help seal really good. But I don't think that's, I mean, if any box you buy that can seal up, I think you're okay with. So we'll take that off and take a look at what's inside. Okay. The first thing is you'll notice, I'll get these out, there's some window screen. Just buy yourself some window screen. You can get it again at Lowe's. I think I got all this stuff at Lowe's, any hardware store. And cut those up into segments. A little bit later, I'll show you the book that has got all this in it that I got it from. So you don't have to refer exclusively just to this video. But here's some more screen. Inside the tank is a kind of a grill top. It's got perforations in it so the moisture and humidity can get through. And that's what you put the screen on and then the book in between, the sandwich in between. To hold that up and keep this out of the water is some PVC. I believe these are just collars. 3-4 inches of anything really that'll hold up your grill top or your base out of the water is good. Now inside here is some distilled water. You only fill it up about maybe a ½ inch with distilled water. The reason we use distilled water is because it doesn't have any impurities. So I'm going to put that back in, and that's all there is to it. I'm going to put that back in. I'm going to add my screen back in here. The screen is, I think, kind of a diffuser. Kind of diffuses the moisture as it's traveling through the air so it doesn't just completely soak your book. So we put that in. Then we find a book that you want to humidify. It's usually an older book. It's a book, and I've got the middle of this, find the staples in the book. Open it up. This is Avengers 144. It's about a 2.0 copy. I mean, it's really nothing special, but it's worked good because exactly what I want to do is humidify this, press it. Hopefully I can raise the grade maybe to a 3. It's never going to become more than that because it's got some tape on it and it's got some color breaking creases and so on. But we'll get into grading a little bit later. So I'm now going to take some more, the other 2 pieces of screen, and I'll put those over it. like so. And then the last thing is to seal it up. And I would let this sit for a minimum of 2 hours. Somewhere between 2 and 4 is probably your best bet. You know, make sure that's on there good. Whoops. Get down here. And I've humidified things overnight before, just as an experiment. Probably not anything that's going to damage anything, but I wouldn't suggest it, especially if you're doing, you know, an expensive book like a Hulk 181 or something like that, which I would not advise starting with. I'd start with something that's, you know, a little bit more of a reader copy and something that's older. A lot of these ideas come from this book, and I have no connection to this book or anything. It's just me and our Matt and I. We call this the Bible because it's got all kinds of stuff in it about pressing and humidity and you know, comic book CPR. So that is the humidity tank, and it does pay off if you're really interested in raising the grades of some older books. You can really work some magic with this thing. So thanks, and back to our show. Okay, there's a little humidity tank video. Hopefully that
Great
can.
video, man. I like it.
Thanks. Well, you know,
Yeah.
not Steven Spielberg
You,
yet, but
you want to speak to what the book is that you put in? I mean,
oh, the Avengers 144, the first appearance of Hellcat.
yeah, that's one
Well,
of my, that's on my bucket list, man. That's one that I want.
yeah,
That's nice.
yeah, I'm gonna. Well, I'll tell you what. Once I find a little better copy, I'll probably give you that one.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fine. Hey, great.
um, it's a. Yeah, I'd say I did press it after it came out of the tank, and I did think it improved. I mean,
Oh, good.
maybe a half grade,
Yeah.
maybe a full grade. I
Awesome.
don't know. I'd have to show it to you to see what you'd grade it at, but I think it's probably a 3. But
Yeah.
it's part of my Avengers 1 through 200 collection. That
Yeah.
now, don't get me wrong, the first 60 issues are omnibus. I'm not, you know, I'm not
Yeah, I
Elon
think the
Musk or
tank,
anything.
you know, you can take it from the book. And my tank's actually completely different than his, but pretty much the same. It's the same theory. You know, I have
Really?
a same kind. I have one that has my tub is pretty much the same. Has the clips to kind of seal it off. I put distilled water. For me, I have these like white tubs, and I can show it on another video. White tubs that I put the distilled water, and then I use a cookie sheet on top. The kind, you know, like if you take cookies out of the oven and
Right.
put them on a grill to cool. And then I actually just use, I don't use screen, I just use paper towel. I roll out paper
And that'll
towel,
work.
set it, and then put it on top. Same theory, just so that you don't get water on the book. It is a good thing to note. Like, do you leave your top off after when in between? Or do you
No,
keep it covered? You
mm-mm.
keep
I
yours
keep it
covered?
on. I like to
I
build
usually
up.
keep,
Like I
yeah,
saw those. If you look closely, you'll see a little bit of condensation
okay,
on the
yeah,
walls. Well, at first I didn't have any. I was kind of
right,
worried. I thought, well, am I doing not doing something right?
yeah,
But that just comes from time.
yeah.
And
I
I
I change my water about every month, I think, 3 weeks.
wow,
Right.
I
That's
haven't changed
usually
mine yet.
I
I'm
do.
probably due.
Hey, it depends on how much I'm doing, you know what I mean? Where you were saying that like you left one in overnight, I actually left one in for a week. And then I had to like it just
Was
it
it
really
soaked?
stunk. I had to get rid of it. I ended up pitching the tank. I started over again because it
Oh,
just I couldn't get the smell and I was afraid that I'd transfer smells from one to the other.
a week?
It's pretty experimental. It really
Yeah.
is. If you get a book that's real brittle, you're gonna want to add some more moisture to it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Some if you look like you're looking for a quick press, like I got a set of Star Wars where the books are really beautiful. They just have a little bend in them. Get
Mhm.
2 hours and then
Right.
throw them
Right.
in your press. So this is this humidity tank comes after you've cleaned the book completely, wiped it
Right.
all down, you humidify it, and then next it goes into the press. And
Yeah.
we can go further into the process later on, but yeah, I covered all the bases for it.
Okay.
And it
Well,
and they're not
like
expensive, you
no,
know.
not at all. Like you see, any
No.
hardware store, you can pick up all this junk. And that
Yeah.
comment about paper towels instead of screen, probably,
I,
in fact, it might be better. I don't know.
I don't know. I think your books seem to turn out just as good as mine, Preston. So I think it's great. Yeah, and I read the screen. I just went with a paper towel because I didn't have any.
Right, right. Well, you get that screen at any hardware store, and you got to cut it
Yeah,
up into quarters or
yeah.
whatever. I mean, it's easy to find, but my biggest challenge was probably finding the stands to put the grate on.
Oh yeah, I just
I think
had some
I use the PVC collars. You could probably use
just about
cups. I've seen
anything.
people
Yeah.
use cups. It's like whatever. So that's Humidity Tank. And,
Yeah. Great, man. Love it.
again, we're not experts, but this is what we do,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I'll jump over. I'd like to do a little thing
little
on the
human.
human fly. Now, the
Ooh,
human fly was a run that was from the 70s and just they only had 19 issues. So it ran
right.
from 77 to 78.
Right
Um,
about my bad time.
Prior to that, in the 50s, they had a real short run that there was a human fly with a blue beetle, not related. And then in 76, there's a human fly that was actually Spider-Man's villain
Oh,
and not related.
okay.
So, like I said, so this run was from, I'll click over to my, and I had the entire run to show you. Like I said, it's only 19 issues. Um, Pretty cool artwork. This is the first
Yeah.
issue. Pretty cool artwork. The story is by Bill Mantlo. I don't know if you ever remember Bill Mantlo.
Yeah. Invented Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, yeah, I know years later he was in an accident.
Oh, yeah.
Real bad accident. I think
Kind
he
of a
was
sad story.
it was, but really cool. It's a pretty good story. The first cover art is from Al Milgrom.
Oh,
He
yeah.
did the cover for this first one.
Hmm.
Um, so I was only 6 or 7 years old when this came out. I had a few issues as a kid. In the first issue for this character, Spider-Man, he kind of pairs up with Spider-Man in this one. And then in
Hmm.
the second issue, he's with Ghost
Ghost
Rider.
Rider.
But other than that, oh, I'm upside down for the rest of the stack. For the rest of the issues, it's more of him and his team.
Uh-huh.
There's a reporter that's trying to find out his identity because he never comes out of it. Um, and the artwork's okay. I think the appeal for me was the whole like Evil Knievel. This guy's a stunt man. Now,
Right.
in issue 8, 7, and 8, the White Tiger, or maybe it's 8 and 9, White Tiger appears, and he actually created the White Tiger.
Oh.
And then there's a Daredevil appearance, but other than that, through all the issues, yeah, really kind of neat. I like the muscle art on it. I like
Hmm.
his outfit too. Um, Now this is one of my first issues when I was a kid, and I think it's by far the best cover.
Yellow
Just
cover, baby.
it feels like yeah, here it is, yellow cover. I think it's just appropriate like size, like it really looks like he's falling. He doesn't have his parachute. This guy is trying to come in the suicide dive. Just really, I
Right.
don't know, it's just really cool to me.
Nice.
Anyways, the next, they're neat covers. Um,
And very affordable.
yeah, very. And then my next favorite was the second to last issue. And this
Wow.
issue, I got the yellow again. Maybe I'm addicted
Uh-huh.
to the yellow covers too. But this is what they call a pieta. This is a pieta cover.
Oh.
And basically it's when one character is holding another character in their outstretched arms. And it's after the La Pieta, which is a famous Michelangelo statue of
Okay.
Mary holding Jesus, his
Oh,
body.
wow.
Yeah, and in the statue, she's like kind of laying down, but this is kind of they always call these pieta covers, and you probably have some of these. And I'll
Oh,
throw in
yeah.
another one book here eye to the side. There's
Crisis.
another pieta cover. So
Mm. I
there's a
did
bunch
not
of
know
them out
this.
there.
This is
Yeah,
interesting.
bunch of them out there.
In fact, I thought that was the first. That one right there was Superman holding Supergirl. I thought everybody was, riffing off that.
That could be, but that's where it stemmed from. I'm not sure who the
Okay.
first one. We could look at
I
that
don't
on
know either.
another episode. I'm not sure who the first one was to kind of copy
But
that, but
so many people copy that, and you say,
yeah,
"Oh, Crisis," it's like
yeah. So, anyways,
I would
so it
have.
ended at 19.
So he
Um,
was a stunt guy, like a stunt, even
the
Knievel
story
type.
is he was a stunt man, and let me click my video back here. If I can. That's weird. Can't.
Yeah, I always thought he was kind of a, I that's about the time I got out of comics. There we go.
Yeah, so the premise was is that he was in a car accident, his family was killed, and he had 60% of his body replaced with steel. So
Oh,
then
wow.
um he healed and then he could like endure pain. So he could do all these stunts. And the main premise was he would do a stunt show to raise money for charity, and then he'd give most
Oh,
of the money that he raised back to charity, but something would foil it, or like I said, somebody was trying to find out his identity. There
right.
were some different
Right.
storylines. They're pretty good.
Interesting.
And this was the first series that I ever completed as a kid. So this was 77, 78. And
Wow.
I was living in New Hampshire, and then we moved to Maine. And my mom had a job in an insurance company. She worked in Portland, Maine, and it was right in the city. This was like on the fourth or fifth floor of this building and overlooked the ocean. It was really cool. And
Wow.
she would have to go in like every other Saturday, every one Saturday a month, and I would go in and help her file stuff or do homework. And then she would bring me downtown for lunch, and then she'd drop me off at this comic shop. And it's the first comic book store I'd ever gone to. Before that, I'd bought at the
Right.
corner store, the bookstore, Bookland. So she literally would drop me off, give me money, and it was the type where it was old cobblestone street, and it was the kind that had steps that went up, and you could go up in, and then there was another steps that went down into the basement, but it had the windows on the street. So the
Oh yeah.
windows, kind of like Laverne and Shirley, the windows were like street
Right. That's a
dark,
cool story.
dingy old comic shop.
Yeah.
So I put the run together for like 50 cents a piece, and I was able to get the whole run. Probably paid a little more for the number one. So literally my
Nice.
first issue. So anyways, I never realized that I gotta go back to cover, and this was after years I researched it, that this is based on, and if you read the title, the world superhero ever because he's real. It's based on a real guy.
Yeah, I think I kind of remember that.
Yeah, it's based on a Canadian stuntman named
Yes.
Rick Rojak.
Oh
So
yeah,
the
and he
guy's
got
a
up on
real
top of tall
guy.
buildings and stuff.
What's that?
He got up on top of tall buildings and stuff. And
It's so the big one was in 70s. I'm not sure of the stunts he did earlier, but in 76, he got on top of an airplane on a DC-8, and the side of the airplane said the human fly, and
I
he's
remember
strapped up
that.
like this on the
Wow.
top of it, and he takes off, and they get up like 5,000 feet in the air doing like 250 miles per hour, and it starts raining, and they figure the rain's hitting him at like 300 miles an hour and knocks him out,
Oh
and
my
they land, and he's in
gosh.
the hospital for like 6 weeks. So after this, Marvel gets the rights to him and starts this comic book on, and the guy goes into
Interesting.
public dressed he only
Like the
goes in the
human
public
fly.
dressed just like the cover of this.
Shades of the Boys.
It's kind of weird. All I can figure is that Marvel wanted to jump on the bandwagon what was hot.
Right.
So probably they couldn't, probably, I wonder if Evil Knievel was just too expensive.
Probably.
You know what I
Even
mean?
though he's on
They
the
did,
back of every comic.
yeah, you remember they did one comic, Ideal had one promo comic earlier with an Evil Knievel. Marvel did it like a 20-page, which I'll try
Yeah.
to see if I can find it. I think I've
All I
got.
remember is the ad for the Evil Knievel, like wind up
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was
toy.
always on the back.
I had
Yep, I
that
had
toy.
that toy, man. I think that's why. Yeah.
That was a cool toy.
So, anyways, in 1977, a year later, this is during this run, um, he tries to beat Evil Knievel's record of jumping over 13 buses. And this guy
Wow.
tries to jump 27 buses.
My
So
Lord.
when he jumps it, he did it in Montreal. So when he jumps it, he beats Evil Knievel's record, but he misses the jump and crashes into the buses.
Oh, did he
And
kill
then he
himself?
like gets hurt really badly.
I say.
And they actually, I'm gonna clip back over. I'm sorry if I'm back and forth a little bit. What I found
I
was,
I knew the kind of gist, but I didn't know this. This is really interesting.
yeah. So in this episode, this cover of number 11, it says this issue, a true account of the near tragedy at Montreal. So they
Wow.
like put it into the story of the comic.
That's
So the human
wild.
fly on this crashes at Montreal. It's
That
really
is
weird. It's
wild.
really, really odd. Um, and then so I got to jump over to another one. In this issue 15, there's actually an article in it where he meets Stan Lee and the writers. So it's really hard to see. I'll just show you the blow up, but in the Marvel bullpen. And then all
Wow.
of a
Yeah,
sudden,
Marvel was famous for that.
yeah, so all of a sudden they gave him a sidekick. His name's Mercury. And then all of this panel is all kind of making
First name
fun of
wasn't Freddie, was
being
it?
short, and they did this whole weird thing. But the guy like never disclosed his identity. I mean, it was his
No
name, but
kidding.
he never was, you know what I mean? And then he kind of disappeared from the limelight. I think after he got hurt, they ended the run a couple issues later, and yeah, pretty kind of a neat, you know what I mean? Kind of a
That is
neat
very
story to
cool.
it.
Well, hey,
Yeah,
we better wrap
yeah,
things up. 'Cause we're
yeah,
at about our time limit. We said 30 minutes,
yeah,
so try and
yeah.
stick with that. But Hey, that was very interesting.
Yeah, I figured I hadn't
I
thrown
was
this
into
at you
it.
yet, so
I
you
don't know
didn't
if
know the
anybody else
story. I
was.
had asked you, so I wanted to make sure you.
Yeah. I didn't know much. You know what's funny about that is that runs into that time period I've talked about where I got out of comics for about, I was a little too cool for them, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
senior year of high school,
yeah,
freshman year of college, whatever. I think it was my sophomore year of college. But anyway, cool story. Cool
yeah.
story,
Thanks,
bro.
man. Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
yeah, we
Well,
better wrap it up. So,
I guess we'll tell everybody to keep digging out there.
yeah, I'm
And
gonna do tomorrow. I'm actually gonna be have a show, so I'm
oh
gonna do a
yeah,
show
good
with our
luck with
buddies
that.
with
Yeah,
our
well,
buddy Dennis.
that's right. We're gonna have him on one of these days and
Yeah, we'll have him
show
on. Yeah, I'll do an
some
interview
stuff.
with him, but I'll get a video. So for the next show, hopefully we can have a video of kind of our setup and where we're gonna be. So, all
All
right, man.
right. Well,
Happy
have a good
digging,
one,
folks.
and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, over
All
and
right.
out,
Bye
man.
bye. Keep on digging.
You too.